Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to today's webinar, Regional Spotlight, Southeast Asia, Malaysia A2P SMS Regulatory Case Study. My name is Matt Ikram. I am the MEF Advisor for Asia, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator for today's webinar. So this session, so first of all, welcome also Sean Ang, President of the Malaysia Mobile Technology Association, MMTA, James William, Mr. Connectivity, CEO of Mr. Connectivity, and we are expecting Pallavi Kutakar, Executive Director from Globe Teleservices, to join us shortly. She's having some technical difficulties with the Zoom calling in. So this session will, kind of explore the A2P SMS regulatory framework in Malaysia and its broader impact on the Southeast Asian mobile ecosystem, with the recent regulatory development, including transitioning away from SMS OTPs and some new filtering policies for URLs and for numbers. There are significant implications for businesses, telecom, and telecom providers and regulators alike. So I think so first of all, I want to kind of set the context in providing a bit of a background. So I would like to welcome Sean Ng, President of the Malaysia Mobile Technology Association, MMTA. We're going to do a bit of introduction of what is MMTA and also setting the context on the Malaysian regulatory and framework and what's happening there. So Sean, leave it. I pass it to you for now. Yep.
Thank you, Matt. Firstly, terima kasih, Matt. For those who don't know Matt, he's a Malaysian, so I'd like to wish him terima kasih, which is thank you in Bahasa Malaysia, our local language. I'd also like to wish all Malaysians happy Thaipusam. Thaipusam was yesterday, so for those who are celebrating Thaipusam yesterday, happy Thaipusam. And for all the Chinese around the world, today is a very special day. Today is the 15th day. It's the last day of the Chinese New Year. In Malaysia, we call it Cap Gome. So happy Cap Gome to every Chinese, and for everyone in Malaysia, happy Chinese New Year. So as Matt has shared, today we'll be discussing about the regional spotlight of Southeast Asia, which is on Malaysia, focusing on the A2P SMS regulatory case study. So before I start, allow me to give a quick introduction. My name is Sean, and I'm from Malaysian Mobile Technology Association, MMTA. So MMTA was incorporated almost 25 years ago in 2007. And it was formerly known as Malaysian Mobile Content Provider Association. At that time, mobile content was the king. I believe it's still the king now, but of course now it's more of a digital on a multi, not just on a mobile, but on a multi-digital content. So MMTA, when it was incorporated, it was actually a platform and an umbrella for all the content providers and the mobile messaging providers in Malaysia to get together, to work together and embrace on any new and emerging mobile technologies and innovation as part of the digital transformation. So MMTA works very closely with MCMC. MCMC is they are the Malaysian regulatory who actually manages and regulates the mobile industry. We also work very closely with CFM. CFM is the Consumer Forum of Malaysia, whereby MMTA is the secretary of CFM. We also work very closely with the telcos, and some just to give you a quick background, more than 95% of the A2P SMS in Malaysia is being managed and delivered by the MMTA members. So as for me, I was formerly with Maxis. I joined Maxis in 1996. That was like almost 30 years ago. And I left in 2017 to join a global messaging company. So recently, for those who may not be aware, there's a Black September in Malaysia. Black September in 2024 refers to a directive by the MCMC, the Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, to implement a policy to block or filter the use of URLs, URLs means hyperlinks, the use of phone numbers, and also the request for any user personal information within the SMS content. So this was implemented effective from September 1st, 2024. And this is being done by the telcos. And thereafter, we realized that a lot of our messages has been affected because, as we are aware, SMS, which is the only communication tool that can be used to reach 100% of the mobile users in Malaysia and around the world, right? So SMS is still the most effective one. And by not allowing the URLs, by not allowing the phone numbers, has created a big concern, and it has, as all the telcos has shared with us, the SMS traffic in Malaysia has actually reduced, not just recently, but it has been a continuous since the last 5 to 6 quarters ago. The other reason which caused the SMS traffic to drop is that somewhere in 2022, the end of 2022, early 2023, the Central Bank of Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, has also requested or asked the banks to actually move away from the OTP, one-time password via SMS, to a more secured way of or one-time password. So currently, I think most of the banks in Malaysia are already using the one-time password via the in-app, their platform. So that has actually caused a significant drop in terms of the SMS usage in Malaysia. Of course, some may wonder why is it done. So this is simply because of the concern of increasing scams. But we, as all of us are aware, scams are not just in Malaysia, right? It's a global concern. So today we are here to discuss about the impact of the blocking of URL in Malaysia. We also like to review on some of the reasons why this is being done, and also we are also seeking, the assistance from GSMA, from MEF, from anyone out there who has actually experienced a similar issue. Although we believe this is the first in the world, but we also believe that this is not a permanent regulation or guideline. This is something which the MCMC has implemented as an interim measure because of the drastically increasing cases of scams. But however, allow me to give a bit of the background. In terms of the state of scams in Malaysia, right? According to the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, GAASA, they reported that despite what MCMC have done, right? MCMC have actually blocked the URLs in 2023, 2 years ago. Of course, that has reduced the number of scams because most of the scammers are using the P2P SMS. So they have actually blocked the P2P, the URLs within the P2P, which we applaud that directive because that has actually significantly prevented the scams via SMS. But however, as most of us are aware, the SMS A2P messaging is not just the P2P SMS, not just the A2P SMS, but it also has other channels which can and will be used by the scammers. You have the iMessage, which is being sent, SMS being sent from the iPhones. You have the RCS, developed by Google. And the most concerning one, which upon us meeting up with MCMC, this is the biggest concern, the fake BTS or the fake base transceiver stations. So this, for those who are not aware, these fake BTS are used by the scammers and the cyber criminals. What they are able to do is that they're able to hijack the telco's network. And when you say telcos network, these are the 2G network. So what they're able to do is that when they activate the BTS, they're able to um, allow those phones which are within the radius of 500 meters to 2 km will be connected to this fake BTS and be able to receive fake SMS. So regardless of what is being done by the MCMC or what has been done by the industry, by the telcos, by the SMS providers, we are not able to eliminate this because this fake BTS is able to mask the sender. The sender could be anything which has been programmed within the fake BTS. It could be a bank, it could be MCMC, it could be anything, right? And the message, they can also now, despite the telcos blocking the URLs, blocking the phone numbers for callback, using the fake BTS, they are able to send the fake URL, they are able to send all these malicious phone numbers because it is not using or not going through the telcos network. It's using the fake BTS system. So one of the key things which we want to discuss today is our big concern about this fake BTS because we managed to get a kind of assurance from the MCMC. If we are able to eliminate this fake BTS, then there's no reason why MCMC want to block the URL, block the callback numbers, etc.
Yeah.
So that's one area which we would like to touch on to see if there's any way we can actually fight or eliminate this fake BTS. One of the solution which was shared by GSMA is that the telcos perhaps could eliminate or decommission the 2G network because I think they have given us some sharing, some data whereby there's more than 150 over telcos around the world has actually decommissioned 2G and 3G. So these are the network which can be used, which can be compromised by the scammers. So we hope that have a further discussion with the telcos and with MCMC to see whether this could be a solution. Apart from that, allow me to share some statistics in Malaysia. As I was saying earlier, there's a growing numbers in terms of the scams in Malaysia, despite what MCMC has done. One of the key stats is that 74% of Malaysians are still encountering scams on a monthly basis, right? 74% is a huge number, and this is on a monthly basis. The total loss from scams are around 12.8 billion USD. This represents 3% of the country's GDP. The average loss per Malaysian victim is USD 2,726. So I'll share all this information later via slides with MEF. But for now, what I'm sharing is that there's also what we are saying is that why the steps being taken by MCMC is still not reducing the number of scams is simply because, number one, SMS is not the only channel being used by the scammers, right? Scammers, as you're aware, they are very intelligent. They are just like a business entity. They will review the ROI. They will review the success of their attempts. And if the country like Malaysia, which is a country known for its friendly, their people are very friendly. In terms of the guidelines, I think recently, if I may quote, there was a case where they managed to catch a guy who is using the fake BTS, and guess what? They were only there wasn't any strict punishment. There was only a fine of around 80,000 ringgit. 80,000 ringgit is like 20,000 USD. So for a scammers, this is something which is easily paid off. So it will only get them to, use such or do more of these scams. So yeah, I think one of the key reasons we realize is that in terms of the legal reform, the penalties, we'll hope that the regulators will have a more strict penalties, more enhanced law enforcement, better legal reforms, and of course, better, more transparency. Because I believe that the government is doing a lot in terms of combating the scams, but the number speaks for itself. It is still increasing, right? Secondly, is that SMS, as I mentioned just now, and very important, which the message we're trying to send out is that SMS is not the only channel that the scammers can use, right? If we look at the statistics, the key scammers, I mean, the biggest in terms of are conducted via phone calls. More than 80% are from phone calls. It's being sent via instant messaging apps. It's being sent via social media sites. It's being sent via email. So SMS is only the fourth most used in terms of number of scams by the scammers. But unfortunately, what we can see from the industry is that only we are being the victim. Only the MCMC is kind of like taking the strict approach in terms of the SMS part. And I believe that, of course, the SMS scams would have been reducing, but it does not achieve the objective of reducing the scams, right? So what we are hoping is that MCMC, we would like to work more closely with MCMC to actually look at how we can achieve the end game, which is to prevent scams. We are all the mobile users, so we are not just thinking about our messaging industry. Of course, we would like to protect our SMS industry as much as possible, but I think the bigger picture is that we need to fight the scams, and we need to just not just looking into because I believe that to fight the scammers, it has to be multifaceted, not just via one direction approach, but multifaceted. So the next I would like to share is that we also received the statistics of complaints from MCMC, and the SMS complaints has been reducing, right, on a year-to-year basis. So the overall SMS complaints has been reducing trend from 2021, there's like 4,000 over, to almost like only less than 500 in 2023, and even less than that in 2024. There's only like 9 complaints in Q4 of 2023. So based on that, I think we can see that despite them blocking all the URLs, blocking the phone numbers to call back, it is not all. It's only impacting the SMS industry, but the fact is, it is not addressing the issue. It is not able to achieve the end result, which is to mitigate and to combat scams. So basically, that is the overview of the SMS issue in Malaysia. So I would also like to now open to the other panelists. I think over here we have Pallavi from GTS. We also have James. James is someone which I would really, I'm really glad that I met you, James. Recently, I believe that you are the one person who should be, getting more in terms of the from the global point of view, because you have more than 30 years experience in connectivity. I strongly agree that, with your title of Mr. Connectivity, and it's a pleasure knowing you. And also, thank you to MEF for hosting this event. Yes.
Thank you, Sean. So I just wonderful job. I think Sean did a great job in kind of setting the context, providing us a lot of insight to what's happening in Malaysia. So I want to kind of spin to your point, Sean, kind of to the global perspective and then regional perspective. So I have James Williams, CEO for Mr. Connectivity. So James, maybe you can take it up further and see what are your views and comments after hearing from Sean. kind of take us
For
a
sure.
bit into the global perspective. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Thank you very much for your kind words. And everyone, great having you here live. And if you're watching us following the recording, very, very warm welcome to you as well. So we've got to take this with context. And the context is very simple. SMS has been around since December the 3rd, 1992. So it's 32 years old. SMS has reached to every single unique mobile subscriber on the planet. And according to the GSMA, that is over 5 billion people. No other mobile digital channel has that reach. And of course, you don't need the internet and you don't need a nice, shiny smartphone, expensive smartphone. So that is why it has reach that any other channel can only ever dream of. And as a result, you find people around the world, whether young or old, are just comfortable with using SMS. And it's this comfort that bad actors and fraudsters are counting upon. Because if I was to send a link, a fraudulent link, at the exact same time, via email, via SMS, via WhatsApp, via basically any other channel you could think of, I can guarantee that the average person in the world would reach first for that link which arrived within an SMS. Now, understanding that, it is very easy by extension to understand why the regulator in Malaysia have reacted as they have. But the context is most fraud, actually the vehicle of most fraud is, as Sean mentioned, not SMS. Email is a huge channel, but actually I'm from the UK. I'm sitting to you today, talking to you from the north of England. Lloyds Bank is a bank I'm sure many of you have heard of around the world. And the CEO of Lloyds Bank has been very open and said that 70 to 80% of the fraud they are seeing within their group globally is the bearer of that fraud, generating that fraud, are solutions from Meta, primarily Instagram and WhatsApp. And Facebook Marketplace is a good one as well. So let's get this into context. It does not, however, the context mean that we should not be doing more in the market to address this issue. And I think it's a good time at this point to introduce Pallavi from Globe Teleservices, because I know GTS has been around for many years and has been fighting the world of fraud across SMS and other channels for many years. So Pallavi, great to have you here as well.
Thank you, James. And thank you for setting the tone. Thanks, Sean, for giving the overall perspective from Malaysia as a market. And in fact, I'll say that as a Southeast Asia as a market. And first of all, thank you, MEF, for conducting this webinar to share the insights to the global viewers. Thank you all the attendees over here, participants over here, to hear us out from James and Sean and Matt. As you rightly said, that frauds can happen from any channel. SMS is not the only channel. Nowadays, the amount of OTTs we are having across the globe, I'd say, people are very quick to react to the OTTs, messages received from OTTs than the SMS, right? So we still feel that SMS is the most trusted channel to receive authentication or the OTPs, right? Coming back to the particular point about URL blocking, happened since September 2024, as GTS, as Globe Teleservices, is protecting and managing network of one of the largest telco in Malaysia, Celcom DG. We have seen the traffic figures, how it has fallen from, let's say, the earlier 2024 and towards September and October, November. The traffic fall is almost 24%. URL blocking is not only happening for the international traffic, but also the domestic traffic. And we believe that domestic traffic has also impacted a lot. However, does that solve the purpose? As Sean mentioned, no, it doesn't solve the purpose. So what primitive actions or other directives we should get from the MCMC, from the regulator? There can be few options, or we are the people, we should suggest this to the regulators, and with the help of MMTA, which Sean, you are already driving this it. So one idea which pop up in my mind is something related to the consent management. That way, if the enterprise can register themselves to the platform with regulator and only the authenticated messages being sent, I think that can prevent any kind of frauds to some extent. So that could be one solution, permanent solution maybe, to avoid this kind of frauds happening in Malaysia or even in Southeast Asia. We can give the example like markets like India. I'm sitting in India right now, and even UAE. They have implemented, regulator have implemented DLT platform and consent management for all the enterprises for sending the messages. So this kind of directives can be suggested by by MCMC and rest of the regulators. Definitely, there are alternative channels like RCS, like WABA, WhatsApp for Business. What is the regulation for these kind of channels? I think the regulations for these channels are not yet defined pretty well, because these are the new upcoming technologies, and kind of it has been accepted by most of the operators, I'll say, and the consumers as well. So this is a topic to discuss. What are the major actions has been taken or the regulations has been implemented for other channels as well.
Thanks, Pallavi. So yeah, so let's go back to the Malaysia context and back to Sean's insight and overview. So I think there's a couple of things to unpack. One is the whole issue of fake, BTS, and how do we address that? Because I think from what we are hearing from the regulator in Malaysia, the MCMC, first of all, before I think please send your question. I'm actually seeing some question coming in, so we'll address that shortly. But before I get to the question, and please free to add question as we move through this webinar. But I want to kind of maybe understand, Sean. I mean, I know we've been talking to GSMA as well about understanding, what is in the telcos about the percentage of the 2G, I guess, network. And I remember having a discussion with GSMA and you and and Julian in Kuala Lumpur regarding, and we cannot eliminate 2G network in Malaysia. I mean, I think in many countries, in more advanced countries like the UK or Sweden, maybe there's no more 2G network, but in Malaysia, these are investment already in place. There are subscribers in rural areas that are connected over 2G. So eliminating 2G is not possible. Could you expand on that, and what would be what are some of the approaches that the telcos or the regulator in Malaysia have done?
Thanks, Matt. Okay, this is something new. In fact, this solution or the proposal to actually decommission 2G was only initiated after we had this lunch with GSMA, Kevin Henry from GSMA, yourself, and also with Julian. So thereafter, he given us a presentation from GSMA, which shows that it is feasible. It's been done by more than 150 networks in the world. As for Malaysia, they have actually decommissioned 3G, not the 2G, but the 3G. So far, I've only managed to speak to one of the telco, and according to them, this is something, it is not, it is feasible because mainly it is currently being used by a small percentage of the M2M business, machine business. Of course, this is something which they would discuss internally within their management to see whether it is something which is feasible to decommission 2G. But of course, we have not brought this up to the MCMC or any of this one, because in Malaysia, if anything were to happen, then it will be up to the MCMC to decide. So I think MCMC will then have collective discussion, a white paper, etc., to ensure that this is the something which can be done on timely manner and can be done effectively and efficiently. But of course, yeah, this is one of the solution we have just came out, which seems to be something which needs to be discussed, because if you look at the impact, right, the context is that if the scammers are able to go around and send out SMS, apparently not just to send out SMS, this machine could also intercept SMS. So just imagine if it is being used for political reason, for, they could be used for a more which not just impacting the to scam the country, but it could be used for any other which is, I
Malicious
believe that,
activity, yeah. Malicious activities,
more
yeah.
malicious. Yeah.
Yep,
So
right.
before that happened, I think MCMC, which they are really serious about finding a way to mitigate and combat this fake BTS. So I hope when this is being done, maybe they could take it up, get the telcos to revert back on their, their concern if there's any. If there's not, then yeah, hopefully that this could be something which the telcos and the industry could look into, and ensuring that the scammers are not able to use this, because this does not benefit anyone except the scammers. So I think together, collectively, we should be fighting more aggressively in terms of combating the scammers. Yeah.
So on that follow-up, I know we had a question, and Pallavi, you answered that on the chat. So I think everyone can see that answer, correct? I think so. Okay, so if not, we can repeat it on live here as well. But I think coming back to your point, Sean, I mean, and maybe to the panelists as well, James and Pallavi, holistically, when we're trying to solve this problem, URL, blocking the URL on SMS, only prevent URL on SMS. But we know URL exists in email, in WhatsApp, in Facebook messages. So in all the channels, the URL exists. So the scammers can still target the consumer, the subscribers, by putting URL and tricking the consumer to click on the URL. So I think to your point, I think we need to step back and find an approach that, either we block URL across all the channel. We means the regulator, or if we want to prevent completely any URL, any malicious act to the URL, or we find a different approach to preventing folks from, knowing that the URL is clean, and so they can trust the channel, whatever channel they're using, and being able to safely engage and with the activities through the channel. So Pallavi or James, any thoughts around what is the approaches that you've seen in other countries in terms of addressing this issue, in kind of like making sure that the ecosystem, especially the URL and OTPs, are clean and trusted?
Pallavi, do you want to go first, or I can, whichever?
You can go ahead with this.
Okay, thank you. So hi, Matt. So first of all, and everyone, banning URLs from SMS, as Matt says, doesn't solve the issue, because very simply, those URLs will move to other alternative channels. It's very simple. There's a question from someone in the audience called Patrick Scanlon. I do know a Patrick Scanlon, and that Patrick Scanlon, I don't know if it's the same one, but he's Director of Global Intelligence and Threat Analysis at the Walt Disney Company. And I don't think it's that Patrick Scanlon. If it is, please let us know in the chat. But it's a very, very good question that Patrick raises, and it's with regards to encryption of URLs, because irrespective of the channel, what happens when encryption comes into play? And encryption is talked about a lot. And the reality is, with encryption, there are so many different ways for bad actors, malicious people, to get around encryption as well. And what you actually need, pure straight technology or pure straight blocking, will never solve this issue. What you need increasingly, and this is looking at fraud as a whole, whether we're talking about URLs in SMS or any type of fraud globally, it's the behavioral aspect. And actually what you find, it's the behavioral analysis. What has this number been doing? How many actions of a certain type within a specific time period, etc. is becoming a very, very key, important metric for determining and being able to track and block fraud. So that the situation is not easy. It's really, really tough. But for me, if we dial it back and go back to absolute basics, surely an excellent starting point has to be any organization within a country. We're talking about Malaysia today, so let's talk about Malaysia. So, for example, if you are an organization, and not just a business, because you might be a charity, you might be a religious organization, you might be anything, you want to send some form of content to stakeholders of any type, then surely a logical starting point would be any organization within any given country is verified that they are who they say they are. So know your business, KYB. So you verify the organization is who they say they are. And there are many different companies with fantastic solutions that can do that at scale, most of it automatically within a few seconds. You then verify the client side, so to speak, the recipient side, the KYC, and do the same thing for them. And that surely is a fantastic starting point. Look, at the end of the day, we are never, unfortunately, going to be able to solve the issue of fraud, because fraud is a generator of such huge amounts of money globally. Vast. It's probably, as an industry, it's probably the leading industry on the planet at the end of the day, taken globally. So no one organization or combination is ever going to be able to solve it. But there are plenty of steps that can be taken, and simply eliminating the usage of URLs in an amazing channel like SMS, as Sean correctly mentioned right at the beginning, does not solve the issue, because the fraud simply moves to another channel.
So I think we have some interesting conversation in the Q&A about using the sender ID registration proposal. I know maybe Sean and Pallavi can comment on that. It seems like it's been done in Singapore. Can we follow that path? And I know, Sean, maybe you can say that maybe have we discussed it with MCMC, the regulator? I mean, have the whole idea of having a sender ID registry and requiring enterprise to register.
Yeah. If I may add that, we have been proposing to the MCMC in terms of, we have looked into a few successful case studies. One of the successful case studies are from Singapore, right? Singapore has a very stringent in terms of the sender ID registration. We have proposed that. I think it's still being reviewed by MCMC. In addition to that, we have also been, I think there's a good question from one of from Muhammad Hasri Kamal. He was asking, is it possible to turn up the URLs a part of SID profile so that the only registered authenticate sender allowed to include URLs? We totally agree with Muhammad Hasri because we noticed that most of the fake URLs or the malicious URLs are coming from other countries. They are non-Malaysian URL. In Malaysia, we have a domain as in .my, which is exclusive for Malaysia, .my, which is being managed by Mynic. Mynic is also a subsidiary of MCMC. So what we were proposing to MCMC is that, only those who have been verified URLs, which has been pre-registered either with Mynic, but using the .my domain, right? This is something which could prevent the scammers from sending in their URLs. The telcos can easily block those non.my domains URLs. The only concern which was raised by the MCMC is that some of the users may not be able to differentiate whether it is a .my is being put at the last before the backslash. That is the authenticate one, or maybe in front, or maybe, so there could be some loopholes. But what we are saying is that with the proper awareness campaign, right? Because I think MCMC's direction is to go in with a very loud awareness campaign to say, do not click on link. As for us, we would like to go in and say, only click on .my links, verified .my links. Why we are saying that is because what we believe is that as I shared earlier, there's other channels. Recently, just to share, I think this could be happening anywhere, not just in Malaysia, but it has happened in Malaysia. There's a lot of scams going on with fake QR codes. Behind QR codes is still a URL, right? So there's been a lot of scammers going around giving gifts, asking people to scan on the QR codes, and it contains a fake QR code. So are we, or in this case, is the government or the MCMC going to ban QR codes? Similar like SMS, right? Are they going to do the same way? I think that is not the right solution, Lano. I think they have to look at a bigger picture and drill in to see what are the best method to mitigate it, and not just by shutting down or not allowing URLs, for instance, in SMS. Right?
Can I just come in here and mention one thing that no one ever talks about, and that is why there are no controls or precious few controls on the domain name industry. That there is a reason why domain names are so expensive, the .com ones and the very short ones, particularly two-letter .coms. The vast majority of two-letter .coms have already been taken, and they can sell for $5 million, $10 million, etc., etc. And there's a good reason for that. Because if I have a URL embedded within a message, and it's very simply sales at dn.com or something like that, you don't actually need a link shortener in there. So the reality is that is not going to be fraud. It's a real, genuine domain. Now, if I go to GoDaddy, or if I go to Sado, or if I go to any of the other large domain name companies in the world where I can buy domain names, we have Globe Teleservices here, and Globe Teleservices kindly sponsored the MEF Business Messaging Roundtable in Malaysia, which Sean, myself, and Matt were at. Now, I could go on to GoDaddy this second, right now, we could all do this in parallel, and we can find as many domain names which look as close to Globe Teleservices as possible. I could buy 50 of them as James Williams, sign up with my personal Gmail address from the UK, and no one is questioning why I'm buying these 50 domain names, which all kind of look like Globe Teleservices. No one questions that. There's basically no regulation around domain names. And why is that? And I keep talking about the fact that actually regulators around the world need to wake up and start actually talking to these big domain companies and saying, look, you need at least KYC solutions in place to verify that it is really James Williams buying these domain names. And hang on a second, we all talk about the wonderful AI, but AI can quickly detect, right, these domain names look like this, it looks like an established brand. Why are you, James Williams, wanting these? And if I can't answer, guess what? Computer says no, James can't buy. And the real issue behind that is the never-ending supply of domain names as well. And that is one huge, massive, for me, elephant in the room that is never addressed at all, because the reality, it's making these companies huge amounts of money selling endless domain names. And why is that not addressed? And this is something actually regulators globally should be thinking of as well and waking up to.
Yeah, thanks, James. So I just want to I think we are almost 10 minutes before the hour, but I do want to maybe wrap up the discussion and bring up some of the very, very good points from the panelists, from Sean, from James, from Pallavi, also from the audience. I mean, the audience has been wonderful in adding value and conversation. I just want to at the Airtel comment here from Nayan about the first MNO to implement AI, detecting spam. I think what we at MEF wants to do is to bring this conversation and bring all the MNOs, bring all the players together, share the experience, talk to each other, and I think use obviously MEF as a platform for this conversation. But in terms of the takeaway, I wanna also kind of like bring before I kind of wrap up and allow Sean and James and Pallavi to add your takeaway and summary from this conversation. I say that we want a very healthy and robust SMS channel. It's the channel that is available and cheap and accessible to folks in Malaysia, in Southeast Asia, and globally. So we want a clean, trusted, reliable SMS channel. And we do understand that regulators such as MMC has to take action when fraud and when malicious and bad actors are able to manipulate and defraud fraud consumers. They have to take action, and we as an industry has to come together and engage the regulators across the globe, in Malaysia, all over, to be able to provide. So solution, back to your point, James, about the domain name, the discussion on sender ID registration, best practice from other parts of the world, from other regulators. This is the platform that we would love to have this conversation and maybe bring that input back to Sean and to his team to discuss with MCMC. So I think my call to action is that, let's continue this conversation. I want to kind of add maybe Sean and James and Pallavi a couple of your takeaway and summary from this conversation. Maybe Sean to kick off.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Matt, for summarizing that. On behalf of the Malaysian Mobile Technology Association, I'd like to thank Matt, MEF. I'd like to thank James, Mr. Connectivity, Pallavi from GTS, and all the audience out there for listening in. I guess as we can see, there isn't a short way of tackling this, as I believe that the scammers will continue to outsmart all of us. In fact, I believe that it makes me very angry personally, right? I feel that they are laughing at us to the bank and saying that why. The Malaysians are. Not just Malaysians, but everywhere around the world are just trying to cover their footsteps. They can walk anywhere they want. We can cover one loophole, they'll open up 5 other loopholes. So I think my message would be for the Malaysians is to create more awareness by not falling into the scammers. I think that could the regulators and the lawmakers could step up in terms of the law. The current punishment is not deterrent enough, right? It has to be something like in Malaysia, nobody actually wants to carry a gun, because if you were to found with a gun, it's a death penalty. So nobody carries a gun unless you're a criminal, and that's a different case. The drug trafficking is very, very minimal, because it could lead to death penalty, right? That's just an example. But a penalty of 80,000 ringgit or 20,000 USD for somebody who is carrying a fake BTS. From the association, we have been, and our members, grateful to our members, MMTA members, we have been sharing a lot of information. We have been feeding MCMC whenever we found anything online, which is, some of them are selling this fake BTS openly. So we'll inform MMTA. We would share among our members those links which we know it is from the scammers. We basically try to build a preventive system among ourselves to ensure that no scammers are using us, but it's still not helping because I think they still have the fake BTS to use. They're still able to use other channels like I mentioned. So my plea to the regulators and to be look at this holistically and understand that you know, blocking the URLs and the phone numbers within the SMS is not the right solution, right? Yes, it is something which sends a message to the public, but it is not resolving the issues. They have to relook this, come up with certain controls which we have done previously successfully. We actually whitelist the contents, the shortcodes. So those within the whitelisted shortcodes and contents are the only one which is allowed for the A2P messaging. I believe that it was working well for the industry. Very, very minimal complaints or no complaints at all. But when you have the fake BTS and because of the external SMS, they're actually punishing the industry. So yeah, my only plea is that they can review back this and look into some areas where not just I think the banks, the financial industry could play a bigger and a stronger role, because whatever scams, the scammers, they will need the money to go somewhere, and the only way is through the banks, right? So the bank can actually have a more preventive measures like cooling off period and etc. So these are the areas where would prevent the scammers from thinking that Malaysia is a heaven or a paradise for scammers. So that's my 2 cents for today, and I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity to share my thoughts and to share our concerns. Yes, and have a beautiful and prosperous 2025, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
James, any comments?
Yes, I'll keep it very, very short. Matt, we've got to take this in context. So there are over 2 trillion. So getting on for last year, 2024, some say 2.5 trillion. That means 2,500 billion A2P SMS transactions all year. And that channel is amazing. Yes, it is under challenge from the likes of WhatsApp business messaging and, of course, RCS business messaging. But SMS has a place in everyone's hearts, and it will be here in a few years, for sure. It cannot be replaced until every single individual in the world has super reliable 24/7, 365 internet coverage, irrespective of where they are on the planet. That won't happen for a few years, I can tell you. It doesn't even happen here in the north of England, in my hometown. So that won't happen for a few years. Until that point, SMS will always have a place. But there are basic things we can do. As I mentioned, the whole know your business, know your customer. The domain name industry needs attention. And again, it's all about awareness and education. And this is the key role the Mobile Ecosystem Forum and other trade organizations like Sean's as well in Malaysia, looking at the Malaysian market specifically, have. So collaboration is absolutely key. No one can rest on their laurels, and we can try and get as close to as possible to the bad actors, but the bad actors are exceedingly, exceedingly smart. And I hate saying that, but they are very, very smart. And most of them are one step ahead of us. So we have got lots of work to do in the industry, but collaboration is key. And it's through things set up like this today that we can share this knowledge. So thank you, Matt.
I know we have a question here. Maybe we should try to answer that since we have time. Yeah, should Malaysia MNOs invest more on fraud management? Definitely. I mean, I think part of it is just the return on investment. I think part of it is like SMS is a very small percentage, small part of the overall business of MNOs. It is although having said that, it's a very important channel. You cannot just not have SMS as part of your service to the consumer. So definitely, I think I believe as when I was talking to the MNOs, they are thinking through this situation. I think part of it just kind of prioritization among all the other things that they have to do and still deliver value, still deliver the ROI. to the business. So I think it's a kind of a situation that they are trying to tackle. Pallavi, before I don't want to skip you and let you have the last word here before we end.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. I think most of the points are covered in this wonderful webinar. James and Sean have given all the insights about it, how we can tackle, and audience also gave beautiful suggestions like having a sender ID registration, because most of the countries, they're already doing it. Malaysia is a bit different. It's run on a short code termination, like every company has a short code to terminate. But however, content verification is not yet done. So that could be one option. And maybe MCMC can follow what the neighboring countries are doing, like Singapore or even India, like how they're able to combat these frauds. So these are the couple of takeaways, and voicing out the same and educating on these options is something which MEF as a forum, or even we MMTA aggregator community, even MNO community, they have to come up and firm up these ideas and help MCMC or the regulators of any country. Yeah.
Okay, with that note, I just want to thank, first of all, Sean from MMTA for being a part of this webinar and sharing and providing us the insight. James, old friend, and so glad that you are a part of this conversation as well.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Obviously, Pallavi for being from GTS. So this is so again, we'll continue. I think what I want to say is that as part of this conversation, let's not stop here. We'll continue to engage the operators, the regulator, the ecosystem to provide a solution. So Sean, look forward for us to continue this discussion and further, and hopefully we can find a more a solution that benefit the ecosystem, the messaging channel. So with that, I thank you everybody and everyone, and have a good rest of your week. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.